Hi everybody. In this video, I'm going to be talking about specifically sustainability in our eating habits and our eating lifestyle. And again, just to recap for me, what sustainability is, it's more of a balance of give and take. And so when we're not being sustainable, that means that we're probably either giving more than we're taking or taking more than we're giving. And the truth is, the cycle like that, it won't last, it will break, something will happen. When it's not sustainable, it's not secure. And when it's not secure, that's like building a house that's not on a strong foundation. So that is why being sustainable with our eating habits is so important. And I'm going to talk about why. First, to preface, most of you, if you know me, you know that I eat mostly plant-based, vegetarian or vegan diet. I don't call myself a vegan or vegetarian because it's not like, I don't know, I don't do the label. Can I eat mostly vegan and vegetarian food? Yes. Mostly plant-based? Yes. And if you know me, you know this about me. Not because I sit around and brag about it and preach about it, but because we probably shared a meal together and you've learned that about me by now. So I'm going to share a little bit of why, and I also want to preface and kind of set the stage for what I'm going to share, because this video is only intended to share information for you to make your own decisions. I personally have done a lot of research, and that is what led me to the way that I eat today. I also know that the human body is designed to consume meat. My perspective is more, how much of it are we eating? Where is it coming from? And how conscious or intentional are we being with it when we're eating it? Because we have to be honest, yes, it is a living thing. Something has died so that we can live. That doesn't mean it's wrong that they died, but I believe that we need to honor that life, be grateful for it, be conscious and intentional when we're consuming it. We get a whole lot more out of it that way. Okay? Take care of the earth. Take care of our bodies. That's why being sustainable is so valuable, because it is a balance of give and take. And that's how we end up being sick, or we experience things with like the soil, for example, the soil being depleted of nutrients because there hasn't been a balance of give and take with the earth. That's why we're experiencing the mineral depletion right now. But we are, of course, being more conscious of it. So I'm creating this video to share information for you, hopefully enlighten you on some things maybe you didn't know about. Because I'll get more into this later in this video, but I personally had many motivations for switching to a more plant-based lifestyle, not just ethical and how I was feeling in that sense, and not just for my health, which I'll tell you more about, but also because of the environmental factors that the meat consumption has. But maybe some of us don't know that, so that's why I'm creating this video, to share it with you. So, a little bit about me and why I am passionate about eating healthy. So, I ate like growing up, it wasn't like terrible, but it wasn't always healthy either. But I had food, and I'm grateful for that. And then as I got a little bit older, being in sports, like I always had somewhat of like athleticism, as far as like I was always in sports or exercising. So I was in good shape, especially later on when I was in high school. So high school ends, and I'm fairly healthy. High school ends, I go to college, and just a lot of things occurred that led me to unhealthy choices, and some of those being drugs and alcohol. So the drugs and alcohol, and then the unhealthy eating, had eventually started to take a toll on my body, and I became physically sick. I had chest pains a lot. I could feel my heart skipping beats. I was nauseous a lot because my heart rate would go up so fast from doing so little. So I actually had to stop exercising because every time that I would start to jog or raise my heart rate, I would throw up. So I had to stop. And I thought that I could take hydroxycut to lose some of the weight that I had been gaining from not exercising as much as I did in high school. But I feel that probably also played a part in damaging my body. So eventually I got to the point I couldn't exercise anymore. I was getting really sick, and I was like, you know what? And it had gotten this bad, y'all. Like, I was to the point where, like, if I don't change something, I am going to die. So, of course, not everybody is in that scenario. My case was a little bit extreme. I had gotten really sick, and just the path along with the decisions that I was making all the time was really unhealthy. It was like they talk about holistic health. Well, it was like the opposite. Like, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, I was very sick. And so I realized that if I can't exercise, I'm going to have to be aware of what I'm eating, cut back on what I'm eating. So being on the college budget that I was on, I actually started doing research on, like, what are the vitamins and minerals that our bodies need, and then what foods had the highest amount of it. So did that research. And then also in my research, like, it was like a deep dive into research, and it was really amazing. Around the same time, this just speaks to, like, energy and frequency and, like, what you're putting out into the universe being reflected. But once I started to do this research, a few days later, there was PETA was on my college campus, and he gave me a little bit of information with, like, this vegan cookie, and I'm reading the pamphlet, and I'm like, what do you mean these chickens are experiencing this? What do you mean these pigs are experiencing this? So I did more research, and I did a lot of research. I went down the rabbit hole, totally horrified myself as far as seeing, like, what these animals were experiencing, not just what we eat, but the animals that they use for, like, cosmetic testing and, like, shampoo testing, like that kind of stuff. And just, like, the experiments they do too in the name of science. I horrified myself. So I was like, I don't want to eat meat. And I already was also motivated because of my health, my current health. And what I found, like, and then I feel this applied to me because of the severity of my ailments. And I feel that this would also apply to others who, this applied to me because of my ailments. However, everyone's body is different. So that was what I required at that time, I felt. And it did tremendously. Like, I believe that it saved my life in a lot of ways. It cleared out my body, detoxified my body. I started gaining more energy. And here's the thing. It's not that meat is bad to eat, or they say, eating, like, raw juice, water, even say fasting sometimes whenever it's, like, a severe ailment. And it's not necessarily that meat is bad or wrong. And this is science. I'm coming from a scientific perspective. Your body requires more energy to go, like, your metabolism requires more energy to break down the meat than, say, a bell pepper or a cucumber, or drinking, freshly pressed juice. It requires way less energy, or way more, meat does. So when you're doing raw plant-based juice, water, fasting, all of that, your energy can then go to healing your body from whatever ailments you're experiencing. So for me, going to that extreme, I guess, being like raw vegan, I wasn't doing anything processed, even if it didn't have dairy or meat in it. Like I was no breads, nothing processed. I think maybe I ate rice, and other than that, it was you know, potatoes, fruits, vegetables, etc. And that was it. Lots of teas. So for me, that worked, and I got a lot healthier. And I noticed, like, not only were my symptoms gone, but I was also noticing an increase in my energy and focus. So that's one of the big reasons I'm a huge advocate for it. Um, but everyone's body will be different. I was also 19 or 20 at the time. So for 19 or 20-year-old body, it might require one thing, while 40-year-old body or a 60-year-old body or an 80-year-old body, they're all going to require something different, okay? Just as maybe a 10-year-old would require something different. So I say all that to say, like, listen to your body, find out what's best for your body. This video is going to be more about the environmental factors when it comes to meat consumption. And this is research. This is a presentation I did in college like 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. I still have it. I love that. I still have it and still applies to today. It's a lot of really great information. Yeah, I'm going to share it now. Okay. And sweet. So the meat of the problem. My mom will comment, who's the new heifer? Never seen her before. Okay. Okay. So I call this the carbon footprint. And this is the food emissions breakdown. At the end of this presentation, I've referenced all of the numbers and research and data that I have. I was still big on that, and I was really big on that in college. Like, I love research. So all of this is research based. So you see that the percentage is actually the production. So just the production of raising the cows or the sheep or the pigs or the chickens, like actual raising that, or there's fish farming too. Little side note, if you did not know this, and again, this is information I'm sharing for you to make your own decisions. But many fisheries that do ocean fish, they actually have really large nets. And this is due to the amount of people and also the amount of meat that we consume. So what they do, they drop these huge nets down and just like drag the nets in the ocean, and they catch fish in these huge nets. Like, I'm talking big freaking nets, and pull them up. And usually they're only looking for a couple of types of fish. And often what happens is things that get caught in the net that aren't the fish they're looking for end up dying and just kind of go to waste. So again, back to, like, that's not sustainable. It is okay to eat fish. Fish is good. I love to go fishing. I know people that love to go fishing, that catch their own fish and cook it. Amazing. That's beautiful. Again, it's back to the amount that we consume and how we source it. Okay, so just a little side note of information for you there. Again, back to like the production of the meat is what is creating so much emission. So it's not even the transportation and the gas emissions from vehicles that is so severe. It's the actual production of it, which means raising the cattle, feeding them, growing the crops to feed them. All right, so here are the effects on land. It is the main cause of deforestation. This is from NASA. This information is from NASA. So meat consumption, the agricultural industry is the main cause of deforestation. The land devoted exclusively to raising livestock now represents 45% of the Earth's land mass. It's interesting because I actually, like I said, this was from about 7 or 8 years ago. I'm curious in 7 or 8 years if that's changed and by how much. So 45% of the Earth's land mass is devoted exclusively to raising livestock. 70%, 70% of previously forested land in the Amazon is occupied by pastures and feed crops, cover a large part of the remainder. So just take that in for a second. The Amazon is now occupied by pastures and feed crops. And again, this is, I will remember what UNFAO means, but I know United Nations for animal something, or farming, agriculture, something. And again, this is all like the government is aware of this. Like big companies, like people are aware of this. This is not, I'm not making this up and guessing. This is information from highly reputable sources that are saying this information. Okay, how does it affect the water? So nitrate is the most widespread agricultural contaminant in drinking water wells. And nearly 2% of our population, which is about 1.5 million people, is exposed to elevated nitrate levels from drinking water wells. EPA. This is sourced from the EPA. I encourage you all to actually go look at the, because the EPA is just like, it's public information, you can access to it. I encourage you, highly encourage you to go and research what else does the EPA know? What else has the EPA invested in scientific research in? What is their data about? You might be surprised what they are aware of. So a single dairy cow produces about 120 pounds of wet manure per day, which is equivalent to the waste produced by 20 to 40 people. Okay, so if you do eat red meat, this is definitely something to think about. Again, I know steaks are good. I know burgers are good. I am not going to sit here and deny it, okay? However, we need to think about if the amount that we're consuming is sustainable. So a single dairy cow produces 128 pounds of poo per day. I'm like 120 pounds, so I'm just thinking like poo that weighs the same amount as me every day from a cow, a dairy cow. Okay, so I apologize that I said red meat. This is a dairy cow, so this is for those of you who eat dairy. But hey, cow's cow. It doesn't matter if it's a dairy cow or not. I'm pretty sure it produces pretty close to the same amount. 8% of global human water use contributes to livestock for human consumption, mostly for irrigation of feed crops. So that water is not even going for the livestock to consume, it's watering the plants that we are growing to feed the livestock. 8% of global human water use. And I want to go back to the nitrate thing real quick too, just to be clear. So you know what nitrate is. It's actually a gas that's released from farting and pooping. So I laugh, but it's actually not funny that that's polluting our air and our water. And 2% of the Earth's population is exposed to elevated nitrate levels in their water wells. An estimated 27% of the water footprint of humanity is attributable to meat and dairy production. So the amount of water consumption just to go to the livestock for us to eat is a very large amount. So again, not sustainable. However, we can. I have some good news towards the end of this slide. Right now, I'm just giving you guys some facts and information, again, to use at your discretion. All right, now the climate. All right, so livestock are responsible for almost 2/3 of anthropogenic ammonia emissions, which contribute significantly to acid rain and acidification of ecosystems. 2/3, almost 2/3, 64% of ammonia emissions. It's not 6%, it's not 40%, it's 64% of ammonia emissions. That's more than half, guys, more than half. And I know this is, just imagine if that wasn't there, okay? And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be there, that like eating meat should not happen again. I know the human body is designed to eat meat. This is back to the amount that we're eating, which I'll get into maybe in the next slide or two. This is from the CDC. And here I actually listed out the types of emissions that are that occur from livestock and the health risks that you can see here. So a lot of like respiratory issues. Yeah, causing a lot of respiratory issues. Okay. Here I have some pictures of what it looks like at some agricultural farming places. So this is literally my these little bars in the way. Let me see if there's a way to move it. Okay, can't see that well now, but there's a lot of poo in this picture in the back. You know, their water's contaminated. You can see like just that oily, dirty water. Also in the below picture, both of these were taken from dairy farms. And wait. Okay, so next, we're intentional with it. All right, so the meat lover, we can see as you go down the rows, the emissions get lower. And this is not again to say that anyone should be vegan or vegetarian or not eat beef. This is to show you information, facts about the carbon footprint of meat consumption and an extreme amount of meat consumption. And again, do what you will with this information. Okay, this is grams of carbon dioxide equivalents compared to food eaten. So intensities include emissions for total food supply to provide each kilocalorie consumed. All right, so again, looking back to the carbon dioxide emissions, depending on types of food we eat. Okay, here's the good news. Yeah, here's the good news. So what can we do about it? Well, like I said, being more aware of how much are we eating and where is it coming from. I also just want to like shout out to companies because just in my 8 or 9 years of being plant-based and eating healthier, I have noticed a lot more ethical practices in the farming industry. And a lot more people are being aware of it. A lot more people are choosing to eat meat that is raised ethically. So I love that. Shout out. If you're one of those people that recently made that change, thank you. You are making a bigger change than you realize. And this little fact right here speaks to it. A 1% reduction in worldwide meat intake has the same benefit as a $3 trillion investment in solar energy. 1% reduction in worldwide meat intake has the same benefit as a $3 trillion investment in solar energy. This is from Chris Menzel. He's the CEO of Clean Energy. So again, reputable sources here that I'm sharing. If every American skipped one meal of chicken per week and substituted vegetables and grains, the carbon dioxide savings would be the same as taking more than 500,000 cars off of US roads. That is from the Environmental Defense Fund. So this is a really great example of small changes make a big difference. Maybe you don't have meat for breakfast and you only have it for lunch and dinner. Maybe you only have meat a couple times a week. Maybe, there are some countries that they only have meat for special occasions, like, celebrations of some sort. So, that's something to think about as well. I also want to add in here too, like after I've shared this information and you're like, wow, I know that it's not easy. We don't just switch it over. And the only reason I say it's not easy, it can be easy, but it feels hard at first because our brains have literally been programmed. Like think about, it sounds like without the negative connotation, think about brainwash. And brainwash happens because we can program our brains to run in a certain way, to systematically run in a certain way. Like our whole body is based on systems, which are cyclical, right? So just like our eating habits, which is every day for most of us, or almost every day, eating is cyclical, right? You just kind of, your brain, psychologically, your brain is hooked up. And it's also almost like an addiction, okay? And those are just, addiction and brainwash are, it's the same concept of like how your brain's working. So, like I said at the beginning of this video, that I was absolutely horrified by the information I was seeing, and it was still hard for me to not eat meat. It took, by the time I had completely, at first I did like pescatarian, which is only seafood with the occasional red meat or chicken. I think red meat, it was a little bit easier to like cut one thing out at a time and then slowly taper off. And then I remember about 7 months of being just pescatarian. I was like, man, I really want to I want to do it. I want to go for it and just stop eating meat altogether. At the time, 7 or 8, 9 years ago now almost, at the time, there weren't a lot of like resources and options like there are now. So that's really cool that I see more of that happening. But so I totally understand it's hard. It's like psychology. It's like starting a new workout program or breaking an unhealthy habit. Like it's hard at first because our brains are programmed a certain way. So taking small steps actually helps. So think, I gotta completely shift the way I'm eating now. No, just choose like one little thing that you're gonna change daily or weekly, and start there. And continue to do research. If the research is really what supported me and gave me the power to do it. Okay, so that was all I had with the PowerPoint. There are a lot of really great documentaries on YouTube, Netflix, all the places. One that I watched, Cowspiracy. That was a really inspiring one for me. I have not seen it, but I heard a lot of people talk about What the Health, and that was a really empowering one as well. I am, again, sharing my knowledge and information that I've gathered over the years. And I know there are many people out there that want to eat healthier for themselves and their body, which is great. But the more we honor our physical bodies, the more we'll see Earth being honored as well. And so it's really about like reconnecting and having that relationship with ourselves and that relationship with food that's healthy. Whatever that looks like for you, again, like everyone is so different, thank goodness, and unique. And so what your body requires will be different than what someone else requires. So I am here to offer support, suggestions, anything, answers to any questions you might have if you're unsure, because it's really important to me. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about helping others on their health journey. Please share this video if you're one of my peeps that are eating plant-based currently or have like a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle and you find this valuable for any of your friends, feel free to share it. I love you guys. That's why I'm here. I also love the planet. That's why I'm here, and that's why I am all about creating a sustainable future. Because our food is sacred. Our food is sacred. Our bodies are sacred, and our earth is sacred. Have a blessed day.